Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tales from the Post. We have a Mrs. Brigitte Jobe. I didn't get your rank before.
Corporal.
Corporal?
Mhm.
Okay. From the Marine Corps, hence the placard. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself today and her military career. So, you want to take it from there?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I think this is really cool what you do. I love getting the opportunity to sit down and just hang out and talk with other vets. It's always a really great experience because it's family. I tell you, I've met so many veterans since I've been out that I've become really great friends with, and still have so much of the family that I served with, and it is just a different kind of family that you're so close with. So I think it's just a super special connection between us veterans.
Well, the Marine Corps has, and I'd say the Marine Corps has the closest bond because no one calls you ex-Marines. Like once you're a Marine, you're a Marine for life.
Absolutely.
We're Army. I'm ex-soldier, so on and so forth. But also, the Marine Corps is so small. There's like what 300,000.
It is there. I've been blown away how many times I've run into people at different duty stations that I hadn't seen in a couple years because it's such a small world, and you usually if you meet somebody, they know somebody that you've known. Like it is just basically a big giant extended family, which is awesome. And since I've gotten out, there's been so many times where life goes on and you get busy and you don't talk to people for a while, but when things happen, that family shows up hard for you. And I mean, just come out of the woodworks. I've had people come from across the country to, be there when stuff has happened just to support. Like it's literally some of your relationships with these people. I mean, you can go 6 months, a year without talking, and then when you need them, they're there. Like a lot of families aren't that strong. It's really incredible.
Yeah, that's actually. Yeah, I'm speechless. Like I've experienced it. Because the Marines, if they don't make rank in time, they'll typically come to the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had multiple NCOs that have come from the Marine Corps, and we'd make fun of them.
That's what we do with each other branches,
Yeah, we'd pick at them and we call them ex-Marines.
Traitors.
I wouldn't call them traitors because it's still the same flag, but just that sibling rivalry type thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But how many years did you do?
I was in for 4 years, and honestly, I loved it the whole time. It definitely has its challenges, but I loved never knowing what was coming next. It was like everything was an adventure, everything was a challenge. Some people really crave that predictability, but I loved just not being in control. I mean, you're just kind of going where you're told to go, doing what you're told to do, and I loved the engagement and the traveling and just always pushing yourself to do something else. It was definitely like nothing else.
Y'all have a lot of challenges because Marines typically get like hand-me-down equipment.
Yes.
I will say y'all's leadership is usually outstanding.
I was so lucky. I mean, so many of my senior ranking, both our officers but especially just, our sergeants, our staff sergeants, our gunnies, they're like great parents. They have the discipline that you need to keep you in line, but if you really need something, they're always there for you. Again, it's just like family. Like you're willing to die for these people because they've shown you that they're willing to do the same thing for you. I will have to say, because I've been stationed on Army bases and worked with a lot of Navy throughout, my time in, and I really do believe, like you're saying, there's no leadership that's equivalent to the Marine Corps. It's everybody jokes that, all these other branches, some are a job, some are a career, and the Marine Corps is a cult. It's very much, it's not a bad cult, not the bad kind. But it's a healthy, functioning, working, cult. Everybody falls in line and it works.
I mean, even FEMA, or not FEMA, PETA, with the whole drinking of snake blood and stuff. It's like, it's the Marines.
What are you gonna do?
They were founded in a bar.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you can only go up from there.
They weren't sober. But so are you from the East Coast or West Coast? Trying to figure out which boot camp you went to.
East Coast. So I was actually born
Fair.
and raised in Winter Haven, so not far from here.
So you're another local.
Yeah, local, third generation Floridian. Love it. And so yeah, I went to boot camp in Paris Island. That was a really cool experience because I was actually part of the first ever super series for the females. So normally because there's so few females in the Marine Corps, they only train on the East Coast in Paris Island.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They don't have females, at least when I went in. They may have changed it since then, but they did not have any female boot camp on West Coast. If you were female, you came to Paris Island and trained. And usually there's only enough females to run one, maybe two platoons in a training cycle. We were the first ever where we had so many females enlisted at one time that we had 3 continuous platoons training all together. So that was the first time in history they had that many at Paris Island. So they dubbed us the Super Series. And so that was a really cool thing to be part of because we were the first ever training series of females of that size at Paris Island.
Well, what year was that?
So that was in 2007. So some time ago. Okay. But
well, no, I was trying to think of how close it was to Iraq popping off and the towers falling because I know there had to have been a surge after that.
There was, yeah. I think females enlisting after that point definitely increased. But yeah, a lot more for whatever reason at that time. It was just the most they'd ever had. So that was pretty cool. I loved Paris Island. It was, I mean, if you're a recruit there, it sucks. But then once you get to see it, and after the graduation, you're there with your family. Like, it's a beautiful place. It kind of reminds you of Mayberry. Like, all the lawns are perfect. Like, everybody's got the white picket fences. Once you get to see the station side where everybody lives who works there,
it's all like Sergeant Major's grass.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. But it's such a unique environment. I think it's a great place to have a boot camp training facility.
Well,
I mean, you're just kind of in the middle of the swamp. You've got everything you need to make somebody miserable enough to graduate boot camp. So
yeah, get them in and get them out.
Yeah,
but I thought there was quite a few. Well, maybe it's just my job. It's I only really dealt with the Marines at my AIT, so y'all's MCT, I guess.
Okay.
Because y'all's it's 30-somethings. What y'all's truck drivers?
Okay.
They train at Fort Leonard Wood with us, but we're not with them. They have like y'all had 7 tons and whatnot, where we would train on the Army's equipment. But we had interactions, and maybe because it was a non-combat MOS, I saw a lot of females becoming truck drivers.
Yes.
And then also, whenever I deployed, I would deliver to Marine bases. So your deployments, were they to Iraq or Afghanistan?
Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a Marine post, Ramadi, which I think they actually handed over to the Army. Al-Taqatum, it's like right west of Fallujah. Mm-hmm. Hammer. I went to all these Marine posts because we supported y'all because the long haul units. Mm-hmm. Like y'all had no long-term sustainability for getting stuff from port to where y'all were at. I dealt with a lot of female Marines. As a matter of fact, the showers were unisex on y'all's posts. Mm-hmm. And the Marines, they don't have the wall dividers or anything. It's just an open trailer with shower heads and nozzles. And I've seen female Marines whip some dude's ass for just staring.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Like, leave them alone.
It's definitely growing, the amount of females in the Marine Corps. I think it also depends, like you're saying, what MOS they're in. Me personally, I was a heavy equipment welder. I was a 1316, so I was in 8th Engineers.
Y'all still had welders?
Oh, yeah. Well, there was few and far between. There wasn't a whole lot of us. So I was attached because there wasn't enough for us to have our own platoon. Us welders were attached to a heavy equipment platoon. So we had mechs and operators and then welders in our platoon. And we were in the engineering battalion, which I think, and it fluctuated over time. I think we kind of averaged about 800 people in that battalion. And there was a period of time where I was the only female in the entire battalion. I think at most, I remember us having 25 approximately females in the battalion. But because in those specific MOSs, there's not a lot of females, her male to female ratio was incredibly small, but there was a small period of time where I was the only female in an 800-person battalion.
See, the Army said if it exists in the civilian world, it exists in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Ridge, right down the street here, up in Winter Haven. Still Winter Haven, Dundee area, to learn welding.
Mm-hmm.
I got my certificates in it for stick and all of MIG except aluminum.
I hate aluminum. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I couldn't do TIG.
It's like trying to hold a volcano together. I don't.
And TIG was later, and I just didn't have the, because you got to work with both hands. I couldn't do it. But I wanted to do certain things in the Army, and I was like, if they have welding, I'll do welding. I've already went to school for it. No, they didn't offer that. I believe that it was all third shop, where all the civilians did it.
And I think that's kind of, since I've gotten out, where they've moved to, because I think they were kind of already in the process of phasing us out, getting close to that point anyway, while I was in, because there was not a lot of welders. They had aircraft welders, was specialized in like aluminum and TIG, and then they had us HE welders just for like quick repair out in the field for, rebuilding up dozer blades, stuff like that. I mean, it definitely came handy in Afghanistan. We repaired a lot, fixed a lot. But yeah, they may not even still have 1316 MOS anymore. I'm not even sure. I would love to find that out.
That's crazy. Because I'd have loved that job.
Yeah. I grew up doing it. I used to work on cars growing up as a kid with my dad, and so I wanted to learn welding. I was just obsessed with it. I loved watching the shows where they're rebuilding cars, and so he would teach me whenever he could get a hold of equipment before then, but then for like my 14th birthday, he got me one of those Lincoln Electric welders from Home Depot, and we didn't even have any metal, so I welded a pair of pliers to our shovel, and it just all went from there.
So you were handy out the get-go.
I was my dad's shadow growing up. He was just one of those guys that knew how to do everything, and if he didn't know how to do it, he faked it till he made it, and he would figure it out, and those kind of people just fascinate me. Like, he was a jack of all trades, and I was like, I want to be able to do that. And
well, did y'all ever get into the restoration stuff, whether it was boats or classic cars, trucks?
I bought my first car when I was almost 13. I was 12 years old, but almost 13. Saved up all my money, actually, from a guy down here in Sebring. For $2,800, I found a 1954 Chevy pickup. Ooh. That was my dream car. He and I spent years just taking it apart, fixing. We actually put it on a S10 Chevy Blazer frame and chassis, so it had all the new running gear. We bought and built a 383 stroker, pulled out the old 350, put that in there. I mean, it sounded so mean. He taught me everything, and if there was something we were doing on that he didn't know, we figured it out together, and it was just some of the best memories of my entire life.
Did you build it more for a hot rod, or did you build it four-wheel drive?
It was four-wheel drive. I didn't want to jack it up, but it was sitting on 33-inch Swampers, so that gave it a little bit of natural lift. Like, it was
TSLs.
It was mean looking. Yeah, it was.
Was it the Super Swamper TSLs, the boggers?
Yeah, the TSLs. Because I still wanted to be road drivable, but I was like, all right, with the 383, it's gonna burn enough gas as it is. But man, he and I had so much fun. We would goof off in that shop so much. We just had a little storage unit that we rented and put it in. God bless my stepmom. She put up with us there till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, just goofing off, playing on the truck. And
that's cool as shit.
I loved it. I learned so much from him, and it was.
So you would say that all of that pushed you to select that MOS in the Marine Corps? Well, you don't get to select your MOS in the Marine Corps, right? You get assigned it?
Well, pretty much.
It's based on your ASVAB, right?
What they told me. So when I actually took my ASVAB, I more or less got almost a perfect score. It was 2 points off of a perfect score. And they actually had their regional XO from South Carolina come down and try to convince me I recruited out of Orlando to try to convince me to go officer. And I was like, no, I just really want to go enlisted. She's like, no, please.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, I was like, no, enlisted's the way. She's like, please come officer. I was like, I don't want to. And I was like, she's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And are you going into, electronics or things like this? I was like, no, I want to be a welder. She's like, what? And, in hindsight, I probably understand why, but I was like, that was just what I wanted. I loved welding. I loved building stuff. I just wanted the experience of the Marine Corps. I didn't know if at that point it was going to be a career for me or, just an experience that I wanted in my life and then was going to move on to something else afterwards. I was like, this is what I want. So, they always say it's BS because you can't pick your MOS, but I actually somehow got in my contract that I was going to be a 1316 because that's what I wanted to be. However, at MCT, they tried to change me over to being a reefer mech, which I didn't really want to be a Maytag repairman. So I actually had to go, and when you're brand new, just being done being a recruit, talking to any of the big guns scares the crap out of you. And so I had to actually go talk to their master guns there to explain to him, like, yes, my recruiter, like everybody says it's BS, but it's physically in my contract. I'm 1316, and he got it changed. And luckily that's what I could have easily ended up being, a reefer mech, but luckily he was able to change it back so that I could do welding, and I moved to Aberdeen, which is where our training was. Aberdeen, Maryland.
Proving grounds.
Yeah, which was definitely a unique place to do MOS school, I'll say.
I mean, at least you didn't end up out at Lejeune or 29 Palms.
Well, I was stationed at Lejeune. That was my duty station after MOS training. And then we did our...
Did you drink the water?
They say that they had it cleaned up at that point, but I don't know. My kids already swear I have Alzheimer's, so I don't know if I believe it.
Oh, man. Every Marine that I've talked to has been stationed at Lejeune. I'm like, how? Is that like the biggest base for the Marines?
Pretty much. I mean, it's huge. And then I actually did training out at 29 Palms, so I've been to both of them.
Well, yeah, 29 Palms is kind of like y'all's national training center, right?
Yeah. So that was where we did our CAX training before deployment. We went out there for, I don't think it was quite a month, but it was a while. You're just basically out there in the middle of the desert, and you're playing with all the weapons and just kind of getting used to the climate and going through all your drills
fun
and
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was... Honestly, I enjoyed it. Besides the day that I woke up with a giant tarantula next to me, I did not know. Like, spiders is one thing I don't do. And
you went to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Camel spider?
Yeah, Yeah, I ran into those a lot, too. I'll pick up snakes, whatever. Spiders?
No. All right, to each their own. People try to catch them to fight them. Like, there's a video going around of a camel spider and a scorpion fighting, and my guys saw that, like, we want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Oh, yeah, no.
We spent time looking around for those son bitches.
Actually, one of my best buddies he was another welder, and it was so funny because we started off hating each other, and then now we're like family.
Trauma bonded?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we literally fought in Afghanistan with sledgehammers over a Gatorade. He stole my Gatorade. I had one that I got from a buddy who was a reefer mech. It was cold. I hadn't had a cold drink in like months, and he stole it and chugged it right in front of me. And so we were like fist fighting, throwing sledgehammers at each other over a daggum Gatorade. But now we're thick as thieves. But yeah, he and his roommate actually ended up doing that. They got a scorpion and a tarantula and tried to have them fight.
It's like a rite of passage, I guess.
It's kind of like just a bunch of overgrown kids without supervision that got access to alcohol all the time.
Wait, how'd y'all get access to alcohol? Deployed?
No, not deployed. Just Marines in general.
I was about to say, I'll turn the camera off. You can tell me.
No. Yeah, that sucks. I turned 21 in Afghanistan, and it's like...
Me and you have a lot in common. See, I enlisted in 2008. I deployed on my birthday, my 20th birthday, for the plane ride back. So for Iraq, we'd always stop in either Germany or Ireland. We stopped at Germany both times. And then they'd take us over to Kuwait. We didn't process there. And then my actual deployment duty station was at Arifjan, Kuwait. But being a truck driver, I spent more time in Iraq than Kuwait because I'd be home for like 3 days and then gone for 18 to 21.
Okay.
So I was always on the road. I lived out of a bag pretty much my whole deployment. But in Germany's known for beer. Great beer. One of my favorite beers here, it's not my favorite, but one of my favorites is Warsteiner. It's a German beer. They've been a brewery longer than we've been a nation.
Never even heard of it.
Oh, it's good.
Not
beer.
a big beer drinker, but I'll have to try it just based off that recommendation.
It's like I won't say it's like candy. It's like a soda, almost like not as sweet as a cream. So it's just a good beer. And I was in Germany. They kind of cordon us off from the rest of the population. So the military has their own little shop-at type thing. It's just for the military, and they have real absinthe, the different colors.
Yes,
the Green Fairy.
I got some of that.
How?
I was very, very, very sneaky, sir. So same thing. On our way back from Afghanistan, our layover was in Germany. And, normally they watch us like hawks. We only had a couple superiors in there with us. They weren't really paying attention. So I was able to sneak over that little shop. I got a bottle of absinthe and stuffed it way down in my stuff. And then I got one of those tiny little pre-mixed Jack and Cokes that are garbage. But that was my first legal drink. Even though I turned 21 months prior to Afghanistan, my first legal drink was in Germany. Even though I wasn't supposed to have one. Sorry, any higher ups that might see this.
They can't do shit now. We out. But our DD-214 protected us.
They were pretty cool about that. Like, if you buy anything, we don't see it, right?
No, my captain was cool as shit. My first sergeant was not. Because we actually swapped captain. So I was out of Fort Lewis. Now it's Joint Base Lewis McChord. We flew out of McChord going to Iraq, and we came back to McChord. Well, my first unit wasn't a detachment or a division or anything. It was just, okay, you got your brigade, battalion, company, but we would all deploy individually.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, okay, this unit's deploying, so the entire division's going or anything. So my company went, I don't know, 6 months later, my battalion showed up. 9 months later, or 9 months into the deployment, my brigade shows up. They just happen to be replacing the units that were over us.
Right.
Whenever I went to 1st Armored Division down in Fort Bliss, the brigades deploy. So whenever the brigade deploys, the whole brigade goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Army, it's kind of different.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
on the logistics side. But my captain was cool shit. My first sergeant sucked. And I saw the absinthe, and I had watched that movie, was it Euro Trip?
Yes.
The Green
I think that's
Fairy.
where every American knows absinthe from. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything, no knowledge of it.
Oh, shit, it's right here. But we couldn't have any. I was like, I'm 21, man. Just let me buy my first drink. I think it'd be a cool story for my first alcoholic beverage to be bought.
Right.
Is on the way back from war in Germany, and it's the Green Fairy. But no, my first beverage was back in Fort Lewis, and it was Corona and Landshark.
I know, it was kind of a tease because we were still over there for the Marine Corps birthday, which everybody knows is the biggest holiday in the Marine Corps. That's all you do, party. But I mean, there you go. Even the Army knows. See, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I just had to sing it or I didn't have to sing it. I had the Sun and Lakes community here.
Okay,
I was the guest speaker.
That is so cool.
And so they had the elementary school, and whenever our branch's song came up, we had to stand up and sing it. And then, of course, I'm part of all the veteran groups, and sure as shit, the Marines, y'all's song, y'all take extreme pride in.
Absolutely. It's kind of right up there with the national anthem for us. So, but yeah, so we were over there still deployed for the Marine Corps birthday, and it was such a tease because everybody got 2 NA beers. I was like, come on, don't even play with us like that.
Teases.
I was like, you know what? I've just turned 21. It's Marine Corps birthday. Can't even have a drink. People are shooting at us. Can't even relax.
So we kind of skimmed over your basic and MCT. So do you want to touch on those?
I mean, we get, like I said, basic was pretty cool. Getting to be part of the first super series for females. I honestly loved boot camp. It was such a challenge for me. But like I said, that's one of the things I loved about the Marine Corps, is just the constant challenge for it. MCT was also a blast. It was just an awful time of year because we were at Camp Geiger, South Carolina, and it went from January to February. So it's just constantly sleeting and, freezing temperature. If you do sleep inside at any period, it's not like any air conditioner or heater. It's just like a building with like some covering. You're sleeping on concrete or something.
It's to protect you from the wind chill.
Exactly. And I mean, there was actually nights, because most of the time you're just literally sleeping outside, because it's combat training, so it is what it is.
Yeah, you're digging your own grave. You're fighting positions.
You're freezing the whole time. I mean, it's been like a month. You haven't had one hot shower. So you're showering in freezing cold water. We actually spent we gave each other like 30-minute turns in the porta potties to like try to sleep, just to get out of the wind. Like one of us would just go in there and sit, like to be out of the wind, and it was like 5 degrees warmer. We'd go sit, and then we'd go get the next person, let them just to like be 5 degrees warmer for like 30 minutes.
Y'all had shit watch instead of fire watch.
Pretty much.
Did y'all?
The person on fire watch would go like, okay, it's your turn. Go get warm for 5 minutes.
So did y'all at least say, okay, this porta potty's no one's shitting in it, shitting the other ones. This one's for sleeping.
I think because you ate MREs the whole time, so nobody was really doing that anyway. Okay. But then literally at least half the platoon, myself included, got walking pneumonia. And so that was the only break we took during MCT. And when I mean break, like the doc just came out. No. The doc just came out and goes, oh yeah, this one's got walking pneumonia. Okay, we're going to go back to training now. So we got like a 30-minute break just to be checked out, and then went right back into training.
No treatment?
Time. No. It's the Marine Corps.
Drink water, change your socks.
Exactly. That's it. So we got a fresh pair of socks and drink some water, and you be on your way.
Shit.
So, I mean, we got to do a lot of the cool stuff in MCT. I mean, you get to shoot all the big guns, you get to throw grenades, you're walking till your fleet bleed, but the walking pneumonia is probably the worst part of that.
That was throwing grenades and the 50 cals, the AT4s, that wasn't part of your basic?
We did some there, but you get to do a lot more of it in MCT. And then, it's just... I'd say it's just more involved. I mean, because basic, you kind of do a little bit of everything in there, but then MCT is more like actual combat situations, I guess. And like they have whole towns built where you're literally just going through shooting each other and, stuff like that. So I think it's just more realistic combat situations.
So there's similarities between our branches. See, your MCT, we have AIT, the Advanced Individual Training, where they roll our job up into it. So my AIT was only 7 weeks. Doesn't take much to learn how to drive a truck, whether it's a semi-truck or the Humvee or the 5, what have you.
Okay.
It doesn't take long to figure out how to turn some of them don't have keys, hitting the little start switch. But doing that was only 7 weeks. It was like 3 weeks, 1 week on each vehicle. The other time it was like the paintball course where we had to do mountain clear procedures.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did some VR stuff.
Okay.
Where it wasn't even really VR. It's just you sit in this booth and it's a screen. You're playing a video game.
Okay. I guess because ours are more separated, I would say. Because like boot camp, that's your 3 months of just basically you're drilling, you're doing all the physical training, you're doing your, rifleman stuff, all that good thing. And then combat training is about a month after you finish boot camp, and that's literally just straight on combat situations the whole time. You're just living outside the whole time, eating MREs, life sucks, but you get to shoot fun stuff. And then you move on to MOS school, which is where you start learning your actual occupational specialty. So you really, in our MCT, you don't do anything related to your job. It's just because every Marine is a rifleman. So MCT is only focused on combat, and then you go off and learn your job stuff.
So if you're a non-combat, you have 3 different, I guess, schools. So you have your basic training, your MCT, and then your
pretty much
your job.
Yeah, then your job school. Which for that one, I went to Aberdeen, Maryland, the Proving Grounds, which I think the school up there honestly was only about 3 months. I was there for 6 months just because the school was so backed up. And Maryland's such a weird state. I got there and it was snowing. By the time I left, people were like dying of heat waves and stuff.
That's weird. So welding didn't seem to take long. So at Ridge, it wasn't a year by year thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was progress. So we'd have to start with like the 6011s or the 6018, or not 6011, 6018s with just steel. And we had to do plate over plate, and you got, flat, hanging, overhead, and then you would upgrade to the joint or the angles, and you'd lay down bead, and then you had the weave beads that you had to do. it wasn't really that long for arc. Then we went to like high lows.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like the 70-11s. And after you were done with all that overhead flats, yeah, it wasn't that long. Why was y'all's schooling so long?
I think just because
Were they teaching y'all pipe welding?
not pipe welding. It was, I mean, pretty much your basics like that. You were doing stick, MIG, and TIG. I think because also part of the day you had other training that you would do. You know, you still had your PT and all that stuff. Some people took longer than others because they'd never welded before in their lives. So you kind of, everybody would go on pace with basically the slowest person, kind of, so they wouldn't move ahead. You know, because I'd been welding for so long already at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done, you know, so they would kind of just let me sit in the back and craft stuff or, you know, flip the electrode in the TIG around and zap your next door neighbor or something. But it was actually kind of cool because it's the proving grounds, you know, also there. And there's so many different branches, mostly the Army they're training. They're actually testing a new weapons system for like virtually training different service members, and they were testing new weapons and trying to figure out if their weight was acceptable in actual combat situations.
Oh,
so
shit.
They grabbed me because I was the tiniest person in our
They gave you the heaviest
platoon.
weapon?
Pretty much. Well, and then they also picked my buddy Bambi, who was the biggest person in our platoon, just like this huge 6'5", used to be a bouncer, had to have his ear bit off, you know, just chunk of a dude. Fuck? He's like, we're just going to find the two most opposites we can, and we're going to load them up with the same amount of equipment and basically they basically put us in a giant video game. It's like a room like this, but just with a huge screen and just combat situations, and you're shooting and rolling and ducking and doing all this stuff. And like, we just want to see what the average wear out rate in the two extremes of humans is, so we know how to kind of meet in the middle for your average military member. So that was kind of cool. I'd never done anything like that before, and is, I guess, just the perks of being one of the tiniest people in your platoon. I don't know.
Well, the perks that our tiniest people got was they had to carry the 240s, where everybody else had, in basic training, we're getting M16s.
Oh, yeah.
We're not getting the M4s. We're not getting the SIGs, none of that stuff. So the two smallest guys, the 5'4" and 5'5", I still remember their names, Johnson and Payne. I volunteered for the 249 because I love that gun. It's like, it's the most casualty-producing weapon in the squad lineup. I want that one. Give me, like, it's heavy. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I want that one. It's belt-fed. Where I originally wanted the 240, but they wouldn't give it to me. They assigned, because we had two of them, they gave them to the two smallest guys. And then we could volunteer for the 249s, and there was three of us that got to carry those. Mm-hmm. And the whole time during basic, whenever we were doing our field stuff, I'm like, hey, because they make us PT with them, hold them above your head, hold them out. It's like, Payne, give me your gun, man. Like, here, you take this one. Give me that one. He's like, no, I'm not getting in trouble. It's like, fuck, man, that gun's heavier. You know you want this light one. Fucking trade with me.
Yeah, there was definitely, you know, especially in our battalion, being one of the very few females, I worked a lot to make sure that I was always keeping up with the guys. There was a point where I was working out like 4 hours a day, you know, to make sure that I could do everything that the guys did, because these were all, you know, my big brothers, and the last thing I wanted to do was be put in a situation where they felt like they couldn't count on me. So, like, during PT, I would always try to partner up with Biley, who's the biggest dude in our platoon. I was like, all right, we're going to be dragging each other. Easy for you, sucks for me. But I was like, I always wanted to push myself, because, like, if they can see me pulling you and pushing you and carrying you, then they know that I can do that for all of them.
Like fireman's carry.
Exactly, all that stuff. So,
what was the one where they'd lay down and you'd have to interlock their hands and you'd put it around your neck and you had to bear crawl with their ass?
I think we called that one Dead Man's Carry or something. They had goofy names for everything, but
if it wasn't an acronym, it was stupid.
But there was a point where I've got this, you know, 6'2" Texan that weighs twice my size, you know, over my back, and I'm carrying him around, and you know, it's just, I love that females are allowed in the military. I think it's wonderful. I think all the equal political rights stuff has definitely gotten out of hand. I think if you can do your job and do it well, and you meet the requirements that everybody meets, then that's great. You shouldn't get special rules just because you're a chick or you're from here, whatever. Like when it comes to people's lives and people being able to count on you and surviving, everybody needs to be able to meet the same rules. And I'm sorry if that hurts people's feelings, but that's what it is. You have to be able to count on the people around you. And
See,
so I always worked hard to try to make my guys feel like they could count on me if they were, in that situation.
I mean, the military, we call it a profession, and they say, oh, there's different jobs in the military, but the military is a different lifestyle. And if the military fails, it affects a lot more than just their job. So that's one place you never really want to lower the bar.
Exactly. And I mean, like you're saying, you have all these different jobs, but, especially in the Marine Corps, every person's a rifleman. I was a welder. I was still in combat situations in Afghanistan. Like, I'm not an infantryman, I'm not a grunt, but I was still put in situations where the people to my left and right had to be able to count on me. I had to be able to count on them. And, you can't play all these political rules when people's lives count on it.
Well, that's similar in the Army. They say everybody's infantry. Mm-hmm. My drill sergeant. So our drill sergeants, I don't know if y'all do this, but our drill sergeants, that gold medallion on their brown, if it has that blue ring on it, that means they're infantry. Okay. So I went to Benning. It was an all-male basic. It was home of the infantry. Follow me. We had infantry drill sergeants. I think I had one that wasn't. Or no, I'm sorry. I think all three of mine were. Drill Sergeant Williams, Drill Sergeant Klein, and Drill Sergeant Bynum. I think Drill Sergeant Bynum was. It was Drill Sergeant Klein, Drill Sergeant Williams. It was infantry. Well, they were telling us, like, listen, they didn't know our jobs. But, you may be a cook, you may be flipping eggs one day, kicking in the door the next. But yeah, it's I think that would be shared amongst, at least between the Army and the Marines. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The Navy doesn't really have like an on-ground infantry. Like the closest would be what, the Seabees?
I think so. I worked with them pretty closely in Afghanistan. They're a great group. I mean,
alcoholic construction workers.
I feel like all the branches are just like you said, that sibling rivalry. Like all you want to do is pick, on each other and go back and forth. But still, no matter what, you'd have each other's backs. It's great.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for the Army and the Marines, it's like we have infantry units, not specialized units. Like we have the Rangers and the Special Forces and that stuff. The Navy has the Navy SEALs. It's like their infantry type stuff, but they don't have like an infantry type unit. Mm-hmm. Same with the Air Force. The Air Force has fucking PJs, right? Pararescue, fucking get in there with guns, save the Special Forces and the Rangers. They're their guardian angels. But Air Force doesn't have like an infantry type unit. Mm-hmm. Space Force, I don't even know if they fucking exist. I put them up there, but I haven't met one yet. They have retirees already.
Wow, retirees. Maybe it's like the space-time continuum. Just
they
went
like
through dog years.
Well, no, it was pretty cool because I was looking at the story. It was two brothers, twin brothers, I believe, that enlisted in the Air Force at the same time, and they swapped over to the Air Force, and they retired from the Air Force at the same time.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
That twin bond is real. I'm 100% convinced on that.
Yeah. But anyway, back to your
we keep getting like way off.
Oh yeah, well that's how you know it's a good conversation. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, that reminds me of this, and this reminds me of this. It's like it sucked together.
Yeah, exactly.
But so anyway, y'all don't have patches or anything. Like the Army, we wear patches. The Air Force doesn't wear patches. I don't think the Navy does either.
Not really. Yeah, we learned in MOS school really quickly that the Army gets pissed off if you snatch their patches when they're walking by.
Because we get chewed out for it. It's part of our uniform. It's like, because the Army's so fucking big, right?
There's a lot of you guys.
Well, the entirety of the Marine Corps is like the size of one of our divisions.
Yeah, we're like...
And we've got fucking dozens and dozens of divisions. Like we have armor divisions, infantry divisions. It's crazy. And those patches, it's like, okay, you're part of this unit. So if you ever get in trouble, they have your last name.
Okay.
But it's like, we also have your fucking unit, bastard.
Yeah, see, the Marine Corps is small enough. They pretty much usually know who you belong to. And if not, they know that you'll tell them because they will find out. It's kind of like how
There's no escaping it. You're always in the spotlight.
yeah, like, back when you were a kid and your parents knew all the neighbors, so if you messed up and one of the neighbors saw you, you might as well just go home and tell your parents because the neighbors were going to tell them. They knew who you belonged to. Like I said, the Marine Corps is just a big family, so you didn't have to have patches. They knew, okay, you're in this platoon. It's so small. Literally everybody knows everybody.
Well, I have a quick question. Was your husband in the service as well, or did you meet him after?
So, my first husband, yes, I met in the Marine Corps. We got married way too fast, way too young. It was actually right before we left for Afghanistan. I think we had known each other for maybe 3 months.
Oh,
and we're like, you know what?
I can't say shit.
We keep having people not come back. Let's get hitched. And of course, when you're 19, 20 years old, you think that's the best idea in the world. And we
so you enlisted right out of high school?
pretty closely. My dad had I was supposed to leave right after I graduated high school, and then my dad got into a really bad car accident and broke his neck.
Oh shit.
So I put off boot camp and stayed for a while, just kind of helping out. But as soon as he was kind of back on his feet, I went back. So I think I actually left for boot camp like right when I turned 19, pretty much.
So you enlisted in 2007. So you're a class ahead of me because I graduated Arbondale.
Okay, well, I actually went to high school in Orlando.
Oh,
because my mom moved to Dr. Phillips area, so I went to Dr. Phillips High School up there. My dad still lived here in Winter Haven, so I'd go back and forth and everything.
For those that are watching, Arbondale Bloodhounds and the Winter Haven Blue Devils are rivals.
Long time ago. My mom went to Winter Haven, and
my mom went to Arbondale.
She was a Blue Devil, a cheerleader, by the way. So yeah, that rivalry is long and strong.
But oh shit!
I got to give a shout out to the Frostburg Bulldogs, who just won state for the first time in 25 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yep. Well, you're way down here in Sebring, so.
It's just two towns up.
Yeah, but I said, Frostproof is very small, so it's a big deal. And as we were at the nursery the other day and see the fire trucks and police cars going by, we're like, what in the world is going on? And we see the school bus with all the Bulldogs hanging out. We're like, oh, because they're coming back from state. All right.
What's that other town that's right there? It's smaller than Frostproof.
Smaller than Frostproof? Probably Babson Park.
Yes, Babson Park.
you get in it, you're right out. It's literally like a 3-minute drive through there.
I didn't even know that bitch existed. And I was born and raised in Polk County.
I think the only thing in Babson Park is the Crooked Bass. Good restaurant. You have to check it out sometime.
I know people live out there.
There are some people that live out there, but not many.
No. So, I was born and raised in Polk County, Florida. The only time I spent away was I moved to Tennessee for a couple years.
Okay.
About a year and a half, something like that. That's where I started school. And then moved back down here. And then besides that was the 5 years I was in the military.
Yep.
Besides that, I moved to Highlands County instead of the Polk.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Born and raised here in Florida. Did my moving around with the military and then came back here. I don't know, something about Florida. It's hard to leave it once you've lived here all your life.
That Florida man DNA just runs deep. People would look at me like I'm crazy. It's like, you swam with alligators? Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. What's wrong with you, pussy?
Yep. We've been water skiing on Christmas Day half the time around here.
Oh, yeah. I'm wearing... So this is actually filmed in November, but y'all are going to see it in December. So I got festive, but I'm still wearing flip-flops and shorts.
You should have let me, you should have gave me the memo. I would have put a Grinch suit on or something.
Oh. See, I spoke to her in Facebook Messenger, I don't know what, maybe 5 messages?
Yeah, I think so.
I try not to ask too much of my guests. It's like, you come in to tell your story, it's like, great. I've had some guy come in here and just talk how he hated the army that he was in. He was a Korean War vet. But yet he could recite his job line by line.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I've had people rant politically on here. It's whatever they want to say. By all means, I only have 2 rules. It's no confessing the war crimes for obvious fucking reasons.
Okay, then I did not buy that Jack and Coke in Germany.
Yes. And no classified info. So my brother-in-law, I had him on here. His video is going to go up right before yours. He was cybersecurity.
Okay, so you just exit out of his video.
So I'm like, what? He wanted to be on the show. So I was like, I'll have you on the show, man. You're a vet.
What can you talk about?
Well, he talked about a lot. I don't know if it's classified or not. There's no way for me to look it up because he dealt with the president's YouTube channel on Air Force One.
Well, I guess you'll find out if you get a black mask over your face one of these days.
Well, my very first episode, I had the targeteer for Shock and Awe.
Oh, geez.
So the Iraq kicking off all the bombs that we dropped, he was the targeteer for some of those bombs.
Wow.
The Calcums. And he talked about CIA asset type shit, how he dealt with, I think it's called Black Door, Black Curtain shit. You have to check out episode 1. It's all in that. But he talked about a lot of shit. I'm like, you sure this isn't classified? He goes, no. He talked about,
it's fine.
They wanted to pick him for to lead the drone operation that they were standing up out in Nevada. I forget what the hell the base is called now. But it was super top secret at the time.
Oh, jeez.